Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. Something unbelievable just broke out of Miami. And if you thought the Dolphins were cruising on calm waters this season, think again, because JALEN RAMSEY just lit the fuse on a bomb that nobody saw coming. We're talking about a star cornerback, a leader in the locker room, someone who is supposed to bring energy and confidence to the roster, suddenly standing in front of reporters and saying something that cuts deeper than any opponent's touchdown pass. RAMSEY, known for his swagger and his no-filter attitude, didn't hold back. He said straight up that the level of players in the Dolphins squad is not where it should be, and the words immediately sparked shockwaves across the NFL. This is not the kind of comment you sweep under the rug. This is the kind of statement that forces everyone in the building to look around and ask, who is he talking about? What exactly is missing? And how do you fix it? Fans are split, analysts are buzzing, and even rival teams are laughing at the turmoil. RAMSEY's words are not just a comment. They're an earthquake shaking the very foundation of the Miami Dolphins. The first reaction from fans on social media was pure chaos. Some agreed wholeheartedly, saying they've been feeling the same frustration for weeks, maybe even months. Others felt betrayed, insisting a leader shouldn't be throwing teammates under the bus in public. When a player of RAMSEY's caliber, a guy who has seen success, been to Pro Bowls, and carried the weight of expectations, decides to speak with that kind of brutal honesty, it forces a new layer of tension. The Dolphins are supposed to be in a win-now window, loaded with explosive talent on both sides of the ball, with Tua, Tyreek, and a defense that was hyped as one of the most dangerous in the league. Yet here is RAMSEY, tearing down the narrative in just a few sentences. It's not about whether he's right or wrong. It's about the timing, the delivery, and the ripple effect. This isn't a quiet complaint whispered behind closed doors. This is public, loud, and sharp. The locker room is now on fire, and the flames are spreading fast. And if you think this is just another case of a frustrated player venting, you're missing the deeper picture. These kinds of comments are almost never spontaneous. RAMSEY has been in the league long enough to know the impact of his words. He's media savvy, he's image aware, and he's deliberate. When he says the level of players isn't high enough, he's essentially challenging the front office, the coaching staff, and even the star names. Is he calling out depth? Is he frustrated with effort in practice? Or is he hinting that the Dolphins might not have the mental toughness needed to go toe-to-toe with the top contenders in January? Every angle matters, because a single statement like this can fracture a team or galvanize it. The fact that it came from someone like RAMSEY, not a bench player or a rookie, adds weight that can't be ignored. If he's questioning his own teammates, imagine what opposing teams are thinking now. They smell weakness, and the NFL is ruthless when it comes to exploiting cracks in the armor. This is a storm building, and Miami is right in the eye. Let's not forget who JALEN RAMSEY is. He's not some quiet cornerback who lets his play do all the talking. He has always been outspoken, fiery, and unafraid to stir controversy. Back in Jacksonville, he was famous for calling out quarterbacks across the league, ranking them with savage honesty. In Los Angeles with the Rams, he was vocal about accountability and leadership. So when he comes to Miami and delivers a line like this, it's in character, but it's also heavier than usual because the Dolphins were supposed to be contenders, not a franchise questioning its own locker room culture. RAMSEY's voice carries authority, and for him to express disappointment in the roster's level is like sounding the alarm. The question now is how the Dolphins' leadership responds. Does Mike McDaniel come out swinging in defense of his players? Does Chris Grier make roster changes? Or do the players themselves step up and prove RAMSEY wrong? These next few weeks could define the Dolphins' entire season. And right now, the spotlight is brighter and harsher than ever. The media circus is circling, and RAMSEY is right at the center of it. It's important to consider the psychology behind this too. A team is only as strong as its unity, and comments like this can slice straight through that. Imagine being a younger player on the Dolphins, grinding in practice, giving your all, and suddenly hearing a veteran say the level isn't high enough. Do you feel motivated to rise up, or do you feel defeated, questioning whether you're good enough to be there? That's the tightrope RAMSEY is walking. He might have intended it as a wake-up call, but it can easily be perceived as disrespect. And once that seed of doubt is planted, it grows fast. Rival players, rival coaches, and especially rival fans will use this moment as fuel. The Dolphins, once hyped as a rising powerhouse, now look like a team at war with itself. Ramsey's brutal truth might have been aimed at sparking improvement, but the collateral damage could be far greater than anyone expected. It's a dangerous game when words cut sharper than tackles. The locker room may either rally behind this challenge or completely collapse under the weight of it. The next game will show us exactly which way they go. For now, this is the story dominating sports talk shows, podcasts, and of course, every corner of Twitter. The Dolphins are no strangers to drama, but this feels different. This is not about an injury, not about a bad loss, not about a coach's play calling. This is about the identity of the team itself, questioned from the inside out. Ramsey just forced everyone to rethink Miami's trajectory. Are they truly built to compete with the elite, or is the hype bigger than the substance? Fans who bought jerseys, who believed in the all-in narrative, now feel betrayed by the reality check. Analysts are already speculating about tension between Ramsey and certain players, naming names, stirring theories, and digging for more. And you better believe cameras are going to be locked on every Dolphins sideline exchange, every locker room gesture, every hint of friction. Ramsey didn't just open a can of worms. He kicked over the entire table. Now the Dolphins' response is under the microscope, and the clock is ticking before this situation either explodes further or somehow, against all odds, turns into the fire that fuels a playoff push. If you thought things couldn't get hotter, buckle up, because the fallout from Ramsey's comments is only beginning. Behind the scenes, insiders are whispering that some Dolphins players are furious, feeling blindsided by his words. There's a belief that certain veterans, especially those who pride themselves on being leaders in the locker room, see this as a betrayal of trust. Football is a brotherhood, and when one of your own goes public with such a cutting remark, it feels like the unity has been shattered. Imagine walking into practice and knowing everyone is side-eyeing each other, wondering if they're the ones being called out. That's poison for chemistry. Coaches spend years building culture, but it can unravel in seconds when the foundation is questioned by one of the stars. The Dolphins were selling a narrative of belief, optimism, and confidence. Now, the headlines scream doubt, division, and discontent. And you can bet that in the ultra-competitive AFC, rival teams are circling like sharks. Ramsey might have just given bulletin board material to every opponent, and the Dolphins are left to clean up the mess. The timing couldn't be worse, either. The Dolphins are entering a stretch of games that will define their season. They need cohesion, belief, and collective trust, not distractions. But instead of talking about schemes, matchups, and execution, the conversation is all about Ramsey's frustration. You better believe opposing coaches are watching this drama closely. They know if you hit Miami hard early in games, you can test their mental toughness. If there's even a hint of division on the sidelines, opponents will push harder, knowing cracks are there to exploit. Ramsey's words may have been intended as a spark, but right now, they look like a spotlight shining on Miami's flaws. Fans are asking if this is déjà vu, another season where hype meets harsh reality. The Dolphins have talent, speed, and star power, but the NFL is about more than stats and highlights. It's about resilience, unity, and trust when things get ugly. Right now, Miami looks like a team wrestling with itself before even facing its rivals. That's a dangerous position, and it all started with one brutally honest comment from their star cornerback. Let's talk about the front office for a second, because they can't ignore this storm. Chris Grier, the general manager, built this roster. He invested in Tyreek Hill, brought in big names, drafted carefully, and believed he was stacking enough talent to contend with Buffalo, Kansas City, and Baltimore. But now, one of his prized acquisitions is saying the level isn't there. That's not just a jab at teammates. It's a jab at the entire roster construction philosophy. Does this mean Miami needs more depth? More grit? Different types of personalities? These are uncomfortable questions, but they're unavoidable. The front office may feel pressure to make a bold move, maybe even bring in another veteran presence, just to silence the noise. But the reality is, no trade or signing can instantly fix the damage of fractured trust. This is not just about football talent anymore. It's about chemistry and belief. Grier might stand firm, backing his roster, but you know he's hearing the whispers, too. Because if the Dolphins crumble, Ramsey's words will be remembered as the warning sign everyone ignored. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Finns this week? And what about Coach Mike McDaniel? He's known as one of the most creative minds in football, someone who brings positivity, energy, and a player-friendly approach. But leadership is tested in storms, not sunshine. Now, McDaniel faces the toughest challenge of his young head coaching career, keeping his locker room together after a public grenade was tossed from within. He'll have to choose between defending his roster publicly, addressing Ramsey privately, and making sure the younger players don't lose faith. That's a delicate balance. Too harsh, and he risks alienating Ramsey. Too soft, and he looks weak. Every word he says at press conferences will be dissected, every gesture toward Ramsey or other players analyzed. This is not just about X's and O's anymore. This is about psychology, about creating a shield that protects the team from outside noise while also demanding accountability inside. McDaniel has charmed fans with his wit and personality, but now he needs to show steel. How he handles this moment will define his reputation as a leader. He's in the eye of a hurricane, and the world is watching. The players, too, are at a crossroads. Do they rally together, proving Ramsey wrong by elevating their play and silencing critics? Or do they splinter, letting resentment fester, which could lead to finger-pointing and collapse? Locker rooms are fragile ecosystems, and when someone questions effort or talent, the response matters more than the comment itself. Veterans like Tyreek Hill and Xavier Howard have to step into the spotlight, not just on the field but in unifying the team. Their voices carry weight, and their response will set the tone. Younger players will look to them for guidance, either gaining confidence or sinking deeper into self-doubt. Ramsey may have fired the first shot, but now it's about whether his teammates use that as motivation or as an excuse to check out. This is the moment where we'll see what kind of DNA the Dolphins truly have. Are they built for adversity, or were they just built for highlight reels and hype videos? The season might depend on the answer. At the end of the day, this is bigger than football. It's about trust, leadership, and the human dynamics that make or break a team. Jalen Ramsey's words have forced Miami into a spotlight they didn't ask for, but now must confront. The NFL is a brutal league. Weaknesses get exposed, narratives spread, and once confidence slips, it's hard to regain. Fans will continue debating whether Ramsey was right to speak up or reckless to go public. Analysts will spin theories, former players will weigh in, and the media machine will keep churning. But the truth is, only the Dolphins themselves can answer the challenge. Will they crumble under the weight of his honesty, or will they rise, proving they're more than just a roster with fast receivers and flashy highlights? Ramsey threw down a gauntlet, whether he meant to or not. The season ahead is no longer just about winning games. It's about proving who they really are when adversity strikes. The spotlight is blinding, the pressure is suffocating, and Miami's response will define their legacy. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.